Well, thank you both, Ben and Greg, for sharing with us your great work. First of all, I want to say we have 10 minutes, so we're going to jump straight into the point. But if anyone has one or two questions at the end, we might just take them. So think about them. I would like to start with a quote from Ben's talk that was, what has food to do with architecture, with spatial design? And actually, in the talk, it has a lot to do. We spoke actually also about health, food, technology, data, demographics, automation, systems, manufacturing. And what that brings to mind is that the architect of the future must be more than anything a strategist, an integrator of different profiles, different skills, more than someone that is identified like someone who only does buildings. So in your companies, in your work, what we see is a shift in mentality from the architect, the traditional architect, into one that is more guided by the entrepreneurial mindset. So I would like to ask you about how you have fostered that mindset and that culture within your companies, in your teams, and in the structure, in the way you work. You can start if you want.
Yeah, that was the most difficult, because I mean, you have to imagine, if you're an architect who used to, we started in the same way, I believe, so more than 20 years ago, with an architectural office what is organized in a quite linear way, whereby you meet the client, and sometimes these were individual meetings. Like I remember that I met a client, and he said to me, Ben, can I just have a lunch at you? And maybe I was still sitting on the kitchen table at that time. So I was working at home with 10 people in the office. This client was saying, can you do me a project for the next couple of years? And it's going to be so around 80 million. Can you say yes or no tomorrow? That was, how you would work. Yeah. Today, that's totally different. So we are responding also to the environment where we work in. It's not so that we invent suddenly a knowledge platform or material platform within the office. Of course, we have our own philosophy and ideologies, but don't forget, a client comes today also on the table with 20 specialists if it is a big project. Yeah. And that's what makes the world so far more interesting today, that you have to respond much more differently as an architect to your environment than ever before. But of course, I mean, I believe in it, that you need to keep on innovating with the company. I mean, it's clear that Gregg is going much more in the building environment than any architect maybe in our lead is doing. We are learning, but on the other hand, we for instance noticed that it is today really necessary to think about these new possibilities of working with technology, where Gregg is also talking about. But maybe we go into the direction more of self-learning environments, where technology is also used in the production technique, but that it can be maybe applied also to the way how people share data, and how you can learn from the building, how sustainable it is over the next 10 years. Because that's what you can do now with technology. You can check in 5 years if all these sustainable ideas you projected on the project and to the client, if they're really worthwhile and financially worthwhile or not.
Yeah, so think resiliently.
I mean, I think that architecture is the last great generalist profession. That what we're good at is synthesizing a lot of different ideas from around the table and bring a way for people to understand it spatially. And so everything that Ben is saying, we completely agree with, and the learning and the feedback loops. But it's really important that the architect of the future, the designer of the future, the way that we make cities, you have to have all these different skill sets, and it's about the synthesis, and it's about the communication as to why this is important. And then I think it's about proving that what you're doing, or learning from what you're doing, was actually the right way to go. And that's how we're going to make smart cities, by designing them smart, not some other reason.
That's actually a topic that comes up in every big tech conference or entrepreneurship conference: smart cities, IoT, and those are two terms that are kind of carry the weight of the technology implementation. They need deep technology implementation. Sometimes the role of the architect seems to be on the side as a strategist. So you have worked in both cases in urban developments that have like long time span, like envision how the city is going to be in 10 years or something like that. How is the ideal or optimal collaboration model between architects and technology companies and institutions in this sort of smart city envisioning projects?
I mean, they're there. Luckily enough, they're now there, especially with the company UN Sense, what we set it up. We have noticed a lot of interest. So we can work from Microsoft to any other firm who's interested to work with us. On the other hand, we have learned also that you have to be careful with these bigger companies, because then we do get some of the projects Google already planned, and we've seen the problems there. That you have to be careful that all these data are not going to the big companies, but that you use data in a positive way. I'm always worried where you start to collaborate with deep technology and the companies around it, that it is then used in the wrong manner for efficiency models alone, and that it is not going for the quality of public spaces or the quality of the way how people can be living in a more positive way. For instance, I had not the full time to talk about this project in Helmond, but what is so amazing, these people who want to live there, they are not only the seniors who want to live there with the idea of that they can produce their own food and that they have less lonely environment than most of the neighborhoods where these people live in today. But it is actually also the younger generation, especially the startup group of people who come there and they say, wow, this is actually fantastic, because can we talk also about new business models? Can we reduce the cost of the rent so that that maybe you get maybe money back for the way how we produce more energy with a community of buildings, etc. So it's really fantastic that the scope of interest in people right now, idea of the future of living is highly diverse and luckily enough fantastically inclusive. So that makes it important to not to give too quickly away all these ideas to the bigger companies. You need to keep it small, so we work with a lot of smaller companies.
Craft the vision from the very beginning so that it's clear, and then after implementation, it's sort of a scalable model.
We've learned the same thing, and so it's I mean it's great that you have UN Sense now, and we've spun 4 or 5 companies out of shop, and we realized that. We do the seed investing ourselves. We then bring in the venture capital, and then they go out. So the newest one that we're doing is a really exciting new platform that you could build skyscrapers in the same exact way that we are building our facades. And so after 20 years of doing that, we've learned that if we're going to solve or help solve the housing crisis, it's about the sort of cost efficiency, but high quality space and beautiful space. And the only way that we could see doing it was just doing it ourselves. And so it's been really exciting the last year as this new company is launching out. And we've already got our first building that's going to go up in Manhattan in about a year from now.
Oh, great, thank you. We have a minute. If someone wants to, if someone has a question, it is the moment to, do we have a mic? Thank you.
Much. It's quite impressive to have you here on stage talking to us as an architect. So it's a very general question, talking about tech, just like Jerónimo mentioned. A project like SandBox Lab in Toronto, which everyone talks about and claims that they take everyone into consideration, very inclusive. I just wanted to have a quick, what were your quick thoughts about such a project?
Well, you should feel this because I'm under NDAs that I can't talk about.
Oh yeah, really? Oh, okay. I can tell you that of course that it was maybe planned too quickly. That you could say that maybe there was not enough connection made between the community itself, who wanted to maybe something different than Google was originally planning for that location. It's actually something simple like that. Just if you understand your users much better, if you really today can in so many new ways, not only with technology, but by really physically talking to these user groups and understand these different user groups, then you can also understand that, of course, that there would be coming up a discussion about data, and it's you know, it's strange enough and difficult enough. It became a huge discussion right now, you know, in Europe and in the West, you could say. But that's why we believe that you need to find new ways of interpreting these or this knowledge you develop with user group into data who you can protect. And that you can also make choices for people. If you don't want to be in that community, that you can be also free to be out, but still live in an area where people can produce, for instance, the food. But I do think that the essence is that there is that research should have done a little bit more, you know, more, yeah, on a basis where you could have a much better brief to argue for the right way how you would have developed this project. You know,
Thank you.
The brief is very important.
Sure. Thank you. Well, given the fact that you can speak because of the NDA, we'll close it. I would just say that thanks for being here, and it's great that we start bridging the gap or keep bridging the gap between the huge potential of architects as strategists and the entrepreneurial world. So thank you very much, and thank you, South.